Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Srikar. No Jack or Anish today. We're going to be going over five possible landing spots for Carson Wentz. Now, we all know the 2020 season has not been kind to Carson Wentz or the Eagles. After falling behind by double digits to the Packers last week, Doug Peterson finally made the move a lot of Eagles fans have been waiting for and put Jalen Hurts into the game. Whether this decision was to spark something in the offense, which it did despite the Eagles still losing, or this is the route the Eagles are going in, Wentz's future in Philadelphia certainly seems unclear. They drafted Hurts in the second round of this year's draft, and a lot of people thought this was just due to Wentz's injury history. It's now looking like it could have been a much smarter move. If Wentz does indeed get traded, and if he's not in Philadelphia next season, it'll be because he was traded, not released. We're going to be going over some possible landing spots for him for next year and beyond. So let's take a look at this. If you enjoy the video, make sure you subscribe, leave a like. We appreciate the support. We recently hit 300 subscribers. We want to keep going with this. So thank you for your support. And you can follow our socials. That's going to be down in the description as well. But let's get right into it. Number 5 on my list, the Saints. The Saints have an interesting situation ahead of them when it comes to the quarterback spot because Drew Brees has been taking a beating these past 2 seasons. And to this point, he's missed 8 games, potentially more. While he signed a 2-year deal this offseason, it really does feel like this could be it for him. If that's the case, the Saints have a few options. They can stick with Taysom Hill, who has gone 3-0 as the starter, but is better used as an offensive weapon. They could draft a quarterback, but aren't going to be high in the first round, so getting an immediate starter isn't going to happen. Option number 3 is that they could turn to free agency, and that could be where they're an interesting fit for Carson Wentz. The Saints have a plethora of weapons for Wentz, and their offensive line is typically one of the best in the league. Wentz's biggest problem the past few years in Philly has been his lack of healthy receivers and the offensive line struggling to keep him upright. He leads the league in sacks taken. While the Saints probably don't pull the trigger and go for broke, Wentz would keep them a Super Bowl contender if this trade did indeed go down. I mean, Wentz would look good in black and gold for sure. Moving on to number 4 on my list, the Detroit Lions. The Lions should move on from Matthew Stafford this offseason, and if they do, they'll have an opening at the quarterback spot for the first time since they took Stafford number 1 overall back in 2009. The Lions have not won a playoff game under Stafford, and with them recently firing their head coach and GM, the rebuild is on once again. And see, trading for Wentz would be a big move, and it's one that could make this team interesting heading into 2021. They have talent on offense. You look at Marvin Jones to TJ Hawkinson to Kenny Galladay when he's healthy, DeAndre Swift. Wentz wouldn't be hurting in that department whatsoever. The issue here is that the Lions can't seem to get out of their own way, and the NFC North is a tough division, don't get me wrong. Wentz hasn't played well in the worst division in football, so putting him in one of the league's toughest divisions, it would be kind of risky, but he'd also have more talent surrounding him, and hopefully, there'd be a coach who could help him succeed. The Lions will likely have a top 10 pick in the draft, so the question is, will they decide to spend that pick on a quarterback, or will they turn to free agency to find their next signal caller? If they decide to look in free agency, I think trading for Carson Wentz would make a statement here. Moving on, number 3, the New England Patriots. Now, look, I'd file this one under unlikely. This doesn't seem like the Patriot way, but just imagine Carson Wentz in a Patriots jersey working with Josh McDaniels. He'd give McDaniels a nice combination of Tom Brady and Cam Newton, with the ability to make plays with his arm and his legs. Newton, he only signed a 1-year deal this past offseason, so the Patriots will be looking for a quarterback in 2021, and I think Wentz fits the bill. He'd have a decent offensive line, and while the Patriots' receiver situation isn't much better than Philly's, the run game is significantly better. Throw in that the Patriots coaching staff is one of the best in the NFL, and I'd say this could make a lot of sense for both sides. Something to consider here is that maybe the Patriots do re-sign Newton, or they decide to roll with Jarrett Stidham, as the plan appeared to be before Newton came to town. New England could also spend a draft pick on a quarterback, but with them now at 6-6, and they're squarely in the playoff hunt. They'd have to trade up to get a good one, and that's not really the Patriots' thing. I think Wentz would make things interesting up in Foxborough, and this is a move that the Patriots should consider making. He'd be an upgrade over, Cam Newton, who is getting old. He's aging. And if they could draft a wide receiver in the first round, I think the Patriots would be right back in the hunt in the AFC East. Moving on, number 2, the Chicago Bears. The Bears have lost, I think, 6 straight games, and their quarterback situation has been a part of that. Mitchell Trubisky is a draft bust, and Nick Foles, he hasn't been much of a solution either, meaning the Bears are going to turn back to the quarterback well this offseason and, try to find their next signal caller. I think Carson Wentz is someone who can make a lot of sense for the Bears. He'd have weapons in Chicago, Allen Robinson and David Montgomery, to name a couple. And while that loss to the Lions didn't highlight it, the Bears defense is terrific. And that's really why they went 5-0 to start the season. Look, the Bears made an unforgivable mistake by passing on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson 3 years ago, but they can make up for it by trading for Carson Wentz and trying to make things right at the QB position. The Bears probably draft a quarterback in the first round, but if they manage to get Wentz in a trade, they could spend that pick on position players and, you can continue to beef up that defense. I think this is a move that the Bears should most definitely be considering when the season comes to a close. And finally, here at number 1, I think you guys know, the Indianapolis Colts. The team that could use Carson Wentz's services the most next year and beyond is the Colts, who we've been saying are a quarterback away from being a true Super Bowl contender. I mean, that defense is legit. The position players are talented. And, while Phillip Rivers, he worked for a few games, I think he's the biggest thing holding them back from, truly being contenders. The good news for the Colts is that Rivers is only on a 1-year deal, and they'll be able to hit the quarterback well once again this offseason. I think Wentz would give the Colts that big-armed quarterback they've been missing for quite some time, and he'd have the weapons to make big plays. Let's look at this offense. T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Jack Doyle, Jonathan Taylor, the list goes on. And with the Colts likely making the playoffs, whether as a division winner or wild card, we don't know, they won't have a high enough pick in the draft to take one of the top tier quarterbacks. That means they'll need to find their next signal caller in free agency. And Wentz could be the best option available. If the Eagles make Wentz available via trade, and they should if Hurts truly is their next quarterback, then the Colts would be foolish not to reach out and see what it would cost to land him. I'll tell you what, it feels crazy that Wentz, who's only 3 years removed from looking like he was on his way to an MVP title before getting injured, is now in this situation. But I don't know what to tell you. I guess that's football for you. I mean, quarterbacks, they don't always get a long leash. And not all of this is Wentz's fault, but the Eagles showed on Sunday that, they're going to see if Hurts is the solution moving forward. But that is my list. I'd love to hear what you guys would change. Let's have a discussion in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you want more content. Follow our socials down in the description. But that's it for me. I'll see you guys next time.